Hello, everybody. Thank you. This is a Realtor event, and it's sponsored by Summit Funding. So if you're here, that means you must know a loan officer that works at Summit. We do these once a month as a way to give back to our realtors, and we do them by video because this is being done almost all the way across the country. I don't know what the farthest away place is, but I'm pretty sure it reaches pretty far to the East Coast, Oklahoma, Missouri. I don't know, places way back there. I'm out here in California. It's been raining. And I'm super excited today because, listen, the market's changing. It's kind of a blue collar market. It's back to the people who are full-time professional realtors and lenders are the ones that are going to make it. And I'm super excited to introduce you guys to one of my friends. My job is to have content for this meeting every single month. And this time it's super easy for me because I'm going to introduce you to Haley Garcia. Haley's a realtor in Texas, down in the Houston area, but I don't remember the name of the town, some little town next to Houston. Have you ever been to Houston? It's kind of all one big thing, kind of weird down there, very, very big. But, you know, I've known Haley for about 20 years, and I want to give you some of her numbers. And before I do, when I give you her numbers, this is for a person who runs a boutique team, right? So not like a realtor who has 75 buyer's agents and counts all that business as their own. I'm talking about a realtor who does a boutique business where all these transactions are hers, and she has some team members that help her, like escrow coordinators and showing partners, and people who do help her do with the busy work. But in terms of creating the business and closing the clients, that's her specialty, creating business and closing clients, buyers and sellers. She's one of the best in the nation. We were coaches together at a company called Decor. She said she's been doing this for how long?
Coming in 23 years. Just
23
a little bit.
years. I said, wow, you don't look like you've been working this hard for 23 years. So without further ado, please give it up and pay attention and get some good tactics to my girl, Haley Garcia.
Thank you, Jim. You guys, I am so excited to be here, and I'm even more excited that so many of us have come together because it tells me that I'm not in this alone, and that we are all wanting to collaborate and get back together and get back to basics and figure out how we are going to really thrive in this market. Before we get started, let me just make sure of a couple of things. Do you guys have me on speaker mode so that when I share my slides, everybody can see them big? That's done. Okay, awesome. Thank you. So before we get started, you guys, just a couple of quick things. First of all, I want to say thank you to Summit Funding and to Jim and all the loan officers that invited us together, because I don't know if you guys realize it, but especially in changing markets, for our lenders to really want to teach and train us how to be business owners and to want to collaborate together is a really big deal. So I just want to say thank you to you guys at Summit for doing that, because, you know, when times get a little bit tough, which I think we all know we're headed in that if we're not there already, we have to come together to really collaborate, think strategically, and figure out how we're going to thrive in this market and not just survive. So thank you. I've got a couple of homework items for the lenders before we wrap up today that are going to help us even more. So I'll give you guys your homework items before we end. Secondly, as we go through the presentation today on how listing agents last, I don't know who's in the room since we have so many rooms. So I will tell you to keep an open mind. If you already are a strong listing agent, great. Then you're going to get a couple of really good ideas to add to your business. If you are not a listing agent and you've been a buyer's agent, I'm just going to go ahead and take it off the table right now and tell you that if the first thing that came to your mind when you saw the title of this Lunch and Learn was, well, there is no inventory, I want to remind you that our inventory challenge is not going to change whether you're a buyer's agent or a listing agent. So we might as well think business smart and start pivoting towards trying to find all the listings we can. And outside of that, just keep an open mind. We're going to start off today with a couple of mindset pieces, because I think that as we go into a shifting market, you know, we can all easily get into that scarcity mindset, and that's not going to do us any good. So we're going to start there. I'll ask, if you have your cell phone, please put it down. acknowledge yourself for coming together today and working on your business instead of being in your business, because these are the things that we're going to have to all start to come together more and more to do as we see this market shift. I think currently the feds are meeting as we speak. I don't know, lenders, you can confirm that, but as the feds are meeting and talking about where rates are going to go next, I think it's really great that we're all coming together to work on our business. So just give yourself a little pat on the back for doing that. And third, as we go through, think of questions as I go through each one of these fundamentals, because things are going to pop in your mind. And I really encourage you to write them down, give them to whoever's leading the chat in your room, and make sure and ask me. I'm going to leave lots of room at the end. And it doesn't mean that I'm going to know all of the answers, but I will certainly share with you my experience. And if we don't know the answer, we'll go back to Mr. Jimmy Reed, because he's always got an answer for everything. So I'm going to toggle back and forward. So you guys bear with me, because I'm going to go to the slide presentation, and then I have a couple of videos and things that I'm going to show you. So just bear with me, as I am not tech savvy and I'm in my Austin office today and my team is not here. So bear with me. So we're going to kick over to the slideshow here. And we're going to start with listing agents last, even in a changing market. So many of you may know the story of Henry Ford. I put his quote on here today because I think it's really important. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right. So as we get into today, that mentality and that mindset of thinking that we can, I think, is absolutely one of the most critical things that we need to keep ourselves in check on. So I put together top 4 fundamentals that I think are important for us to focus on right now. Number 1 being what is important. 2, who are our sellers now? Where do we find them? And how do we close them? And you guys know, without me even jumping into it, that each one of these fundamentals could be about 3 lunch and learns on their own. So in essence of time, I'm going to go high level on some of these and really just try to share with you some of my current opinions and experiences. And hopefully it will give you a couple of ideas to walk away to go implement, or maybe some mindset shifts that you can hold yourself accountable for. So when we get to what's most important, what do you believe you can achieve? And I would like everybody to take a minute and just think about that. What do you believe you can achieve? What personal responsibility do you take to grow your business? In this current market where things are shifting so quickly, we cannot live in the mentality of a victim to the economy. Otherwise, we will barely survive. We will definitely not be thriving. So in my opinion, the top 2 most important things are our mindset and then our plan. And when it comes to mindset, I would encourage you to jot down anything that you can hold yourself accountable for keeping your mindset in a positive frame of mind. So that might be limiting your exposure to the media, right? Because we all know if we get on the media, there's so many things to create scarcity there. It might be holding yourself accountable to your own daily practice, a morning routine, prayer, meditation, whatever it is that you know you need to do in order to keep yourself in a positive mindset. And really just continuing to ask yourself, what do you believe you can achieve? And what do you think is possible? Because we have to believe that it's possible, and we have to believe that we can achieve whatever we put our mind to in order to move through times like this. I'll just share a little bit of background on me. I started and had just gotten my real estate license and just signed on with a broker when 9/11 happened. And if there's youngsters in the room, that's going back a really long time ago. But when 9/11 happened, for any of you guys that have been around in the industry as long as I have, you know that at that point in time, we thought, oh gosh, everything is tanking. It's all going away. And I remember being a brand new agent and going, well, there's a little bit of a challenge now that I, number 1, don't even have a pipeline of business. And number 2, the economy's tanking. And then after 9/11, I continued to, the first year in business, I did 10 million that first year. So that was between 01 and 02. And then we had 08, 09, and most people know what happened in 08, 09. I vividly remember the news coming on and talking about all the banks that were closing their doors. And I think back then I had 3 closings that went to the closing table, never actually funded because the banks went out of business. And in 08, 09, I still continued to thrive. I also in 09 opened my own brokerage. And while I wouldn't advise that, I don't really know what I was thinking, I did make it work. And it was not without many, many hours of hard work and also many hours of me keeping my head together and not allowing the overwhelm and the scarcity to get in my way. And, you know, then we've all experienced COVID, right? Everybody remembers when the world shut down in COVID. So I share these things just to remind you guys of the economy goes up and down in waves, and it is up to us to choose how we see it and to take the personal responsibility of continuing to grow our business. And we all know that when things pivot in the market, we have a cleansing of the industry, right? So we're going to have a lot of real estate agents who got in the past couple of years that thought this is how business actually is all the time, and they're not going to be able to sustain. So we want to constantly be looking for opportunity. And then the plan. You know, I put a picture of a calendar up on this slide because if we don't plan.
Haley, I don't mean to be rude. Your slide is not sharing with us. So right now we can only see you.
Oh, guys, I'm so sorry, Jonas. I wish you would have told me that. I'm so sorry.
Not an issue.
Thank you for telling me.
Yes, ma'am.
See, this is why I'm not in charge of these things. Okay, hang on. Let me see what I thought I shared screen. Clearly it did not do it.
So the note that I got says hit share screen again and then choose a screen and click OK for a second time. There we go.
Okay, did it do it that time? Okay, all right. Thank you. All right, hang on. Let me get back over here. All right, there we go. You didn't miss anything exciting. Here it is. Okay, so the picture of the calendar up here is because, you know the saying of if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right? We've all heard that for years. Well, right now, our plan is more important than ever. And the plan also, in my opinion, is what holds us accountable. So we have to create the plan that has to do with every single day, our theme days, our hours in the day, where are we putting our time? Who are we connecting with? All the way through all the components that we're going to talk about in a few minutes of when we are a listing agent, what is our process and what is our plan and how are we lead generating and planning out every little detail of it. So in my opinion, right now, that's what's most important, your mindset and your plan. The second fundamental, which you guys didn't see the beginning of the slide, but the second fundamental is who are our sellers now? And this is where I really just wanted to remind all of us, right? Because I think sometimes we forget all the different pieces that can be potential sellers. So if we're going to position ourselves as a strong listing agent in the market, we need to understand who it is we're talking to and what business it is that we're going after. So you guys can see up here on the screen, these are the obvious ones, right? So current clients and past clients. Well, somebody might go, well, how is a current client a potential seller? Because they might be a potential, maybe that might be a current client as a buyer. Well, have you ever thought of taking that current client that is a buyer, closing on their house, and then setting them up on a drip campaign that is constantly sending them market updates for their micro market where they just purchased a house and telling them that every 6 months, you're going to be calling them and touching base to let them know how their value of the new property they just closed on is doing. Think if you go back as many years as you've been in the business, if you had been consistently doing that, how many potential sellers you would now have. And yes, some buyers do stay in their home 5 to 7 years, 10 years. But I'll tell you guys, just last week, I closed a listing and the buyer that bought the listing had an immediate family change and put the listing on the market 3 days later. So it does happen, but this is, again, part of the plan and putting in all the different ideas of where we can extract these potential seller clients, past clients. So this is a piece where if you partner with your lender, I know that Summit has the program called HomeBot. If you guys were at the event that we all just went to in Denver, HomeBot is one of the programs that will pull an evaluation of a property. So currently my team is working with one of our lenders to go through HomeBot and pull home evaluations and create an entire call process and a drip campaign to send out all of the evaluations for every single past client for the past 10 years. Do you think we're going to get seller leads out of doing that? 100%. These are the things in this market that we have to start doing, because number one, it's positioning you as a strong listing agent because you're watching the market and you understand what's going on. Number two, it's keeping you in front of them. Number three, you're partnering with your lender who is also has a vested interest in helping us all sell more homes. So working a plan to the current clients, the past clients is critical. The past client referrals, exact same. You guys, if you're not getting a past client referral from every single past client, then we need to go back to the plan and figure out what it is that we're missing, right? Why are we not getting these past clients? Are we not staying in touch with them? Are we not showing them that we're the expert in our current market? But those two are very important. Builders. I don't know about you guys, but in my market, the builders in the past couple of years haven't needed our help at all. However, that is starting to change. In the past 3 weeks, I have had 4 of my builders call. They want to inquire what's going on. Where are the buyers? What's happening, Haley? What are you seeing at the end of the market you're in? So these builders are now, of course, my response to that is, well, how much inventory are you sitting on? How are you getting that inventory out to the buyers that there are? So start thinking about the builder clients, and they're starting to pivot, right? They're going to come back to need us as this market starts to shift. For any of you guys that have been listing agents in the market for very long, builders have always been a huge piece of my listing inventory until the past couple of years because they didn't need us, right? They had multiple offers on every piece of inventory they had. However, we're moving away from that. So it's a good thing, right? It's coming back in as a potential piece of business. Business partners. This is something that I think is very underestimated. For any of you that do not have a plan to connect with and to build relationships with all the other business owners in your markets, you are missing out. The business partners send a huge amount of business my way. And I will tell you right now, as the market is pivoting, every single business is starting to feel it, right? I have a local doctor and she has a huge part of her business that has to do with aesthetics, right? Facials, fillers, all that kind of stuff. That's a huge piece of her wellness business. And she called me last week and she was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And I was like, well, number one, we're not going to panic. And so she used to be part of a mastermind group many years ago that I held. And it was once a month, 7 a.m. at La Madeleine's, and I invited local business owners. So I had her as a physician. I had a couple of lawyers, a couple of financial aid planners, private bankers, and we all came together and I led a mastermind group to discuss the economy and what each of us were doing in our business to actually reach the community and to stay ahead of whatever might be shifting and the things we cannot control. And this doctor called me last week, and when she said, oh my God, what are we going to do? She was like, can we get our group back together again? Can we do our mastermind? And I share that with you guys to say it was a reminder to me to go, absolutely we can, because this is what I did back in the day to build the business I have now. So it is a perfect time to create a mastermind with other business owners to get together and collaborate, because you know who those business owners know? People that need to sell their homes. So every single person they're advising, every person they're talking to, when you're in relationship with them and you're strategizing with them about the current market, you also are going to receive the referrals whenever they hear of anybody that needs to sell and buy as well, right? But selling is really where we're focused because of the leverage that it gives us. And then outside agent referrals. You guys, how many of you have actually ever done any research on companies that are moving their companies across the nation? It happens all the time. So obviously in Houston, we have a ton of oil and gas. So those companies move back and forth all the time. But think about in your local markets, hospitals constantly moving physicians and nurses. I mean, there's so many different ones, right? If you guys are out in California, you're super heavy with tech. They move people all the time. Tesla just moved to Austin. I mean, there's just massive company movement, a lot. Well, do you know that if you actually do that research and you put together an email and an agent campaign and you look up the top 5 agents in each of those markets where those companies are moving people from, 9 times out of 10, they are not working with a relocation company. And you start marketing to those agents and you tell them that you're going to send them a referral fee. it works both ways, right? So you're listing on one end, you're buying on the other end, but building those agent referral networks across the country with all of us is a huge piece of my business. And it didn't just happen by chance, right? I started doing the company research and finding out a long time ago when I joined a group here locally called the Economic Development Partnership, which every single one of your communities has something like that. And those economic development partnerships within the communities actually track companies moving. So you can go to them and say, what do you know? Give me the list of companies that are moving in or out. And then you look up the reverse city where those moves are happening, and you start calling those top 5 agents and building relationships with them. And the referral business that comes out of that is really amazing. I list properties all the time for other agents where the buyer is moving across to California, but they have to sell here first, and vice versa. So it's just one of those pieces to go think outside of the box, right? Because every little thing that we do is what's going to help us thrive. And then local vendors. I think we all forget all of our local vendors that we refer business to all the time, and how much we don't ask them for the referrals back. I have started a couple of different programs within my local vendors where I send them gift cards and they get invited to my events and all sorts of things. But think about it in terms of the movers. Just last week, I got a referral from my local moving company. Well, how often do I refer the mover? All the time, right? Well, the mover got a call to go walk a property to give this potential seller an estimate about how much it was going to cost her to move across country. The mover then, because they are trained by me, said, oh, have you already connected with a real estate agent to sell your property? And this potential seller said, no, actually, I haven't. Well, of course, the mover had my cards and said, you've got to call Haley. She's our #1 agent. She will sell your property and get you top dollar. Of course, I got the listing appointment. So it's just a reminder to think about all the people that we need to connect with and the pieces we can put into our plan to get the potential listing business. Because you guys, no matter what the economy is doing, people still move, right? And so going back to the mindset, that's where we have to stay out of our own way and not think that any of this stuff is impossible, because it's all very easy to do. It just takes action. So oh, look, now I can't even move there we go. So my strength is not technology, guys, not. So the third fundamental is, where do you find them? And I will add to that and say, and what do you do with them to show that you're the expert? So when it comes to our CRM, right now, when we're getting back to the basics and you really want to start positioning yourself as a listing agent, you need to be working your CRM with a really diligent plan on a regular basis. And again, the CRM can be 5 lunch and learns together, but on a high level, ask yourself, what am I doing to touch every person in my CRM on a regular basis and to position myself as a listing expert? Are you sending out email drip campaigns? Are you making all of your phone calls? Do you send a monthly newsletter? There's so many different things that you could be doing within your CRM. And I'll back it up for a minute and say, if you don't have a really strong CRM built, then right now, when the market is a little bit more quiet, is the time that you build it and then you put all of your plans in place. Because over the 22.5, 23 years that I've been selling, that CRM is literally the pot of gold when I choose to work it, right? When we choose to work it. So go back into your CRM and put your plans together. And this is also something where your lenders with the HomeBot program, there's so many things you can tie in to put as drip campaigns within the CRM that will get people's attention. I send out a monthly newsletter to my CRM called Home with Haley. And the top of Home with Haley is always a letter from me about something I have to say about the season. And then I have it broken down into we do a mental health coaching section. We do a decor section on something trendy right now having to do with homes. We do a nonprofit spotlight, I'm going to talk about in a minute. And then at the bottom, we do a market update. And so I don't think that newsletter has gone out one time without me at least getting one phone call from every time it goes out. So it's positioning me as the expert. It's talking about our current market. It's showing that I care for the community, and it's keeping me in front of them. And by the way, you guys, it's also free. So another piece of leveraging the times that we're in, think about all the things that we can do that don't actually cost us any money to connect and stay in front of people and position ourselves as a listing agent. Business networking events. I can see some of you who by show of hands kind of slacked off our business networking events for the past couple of years. Oh, I'm the only one. Okay. Y'all are lying. So I definitely have slacked off to going to the business networking events for the past couple of years because I've been so busy, right? So all of a sudden I told my team, wait a minute, you guys, we got to get back to the basics. We have to be in front of people, meeting them, talking to them, asking what challenges they're going through, being positive, talking about what we're doing to manage the pivoting market, and shaking hands, right? So pull your chamber list, pull all of your local area, events that are going on, and start getting back out and getting in front of these people. And I'll give you another tip. Whenever people ask you what the market is doing, you better have something positive to say, right? It's not the time to go, oh, it's just so bad. Absolutely not. You know what the market is doing? It's creating so many new opportunities, and we are on it. That's what the market is doing. So going in person, I think, is one of the fundamentals of getting back to the basics and also looking for those potential sellers. The Economic Development Partnership Group, look for those in each of your communities, because I will tell you, it has been a game-changing event and organization that I became part of probably 7 or 8 years ago. So that's a big one when it comes to business. Nonprofit organizations. You guys know when it comes to mindset, right? The best way to keep our mindset in a positive perspective is to go help others in need. So now more than ever, my team and I have upped the days that we're going to do volunteer days. I sit on 3 different boards locally for nonprofit organizations, and we also give back a percentage of our net commissions every single quarter to a local community charity. That is one piece, you guys, where not only do I believe in we will receive what we give, but it helps our own mindset when we're helping others. And when we connect with the business side of the nonprofit organizations, that's where the leaders in our communities are also at. So it's where I see one of my past clients who's the CEO of the hospital. It's where I see a couple of the CEOs of the large organizations, because they too sit on the boards. And if you think sitting on a board is too daunting, then go ask if you can join a committee, right? Start working on a committee and working side by side with some of these people to give back to the community. Because I will tell you that a huge portion of my listing referral business comes from those organizations where I serve side by side with these people. Local companies who move employees. That's what we talked about earlier. It's so critical. The hospitals, I mentioned the CEO is one of my past clients. The next in command, who manages all the HR and the moves, is also a client of mine, because I have worked for years to build those relationships. Probably 2 to 3 times a month, I get emails or text messages from one of the 2 of them saying, we're bringing in these new doctors. We really want them to choose the Woodlands. Will you take them for a tour? Of course I will. Is it a listing right now? No. Will it be a listing in the future? 100%. So be strategic about where you're going to build relationships with, and know that it's consistency and it takes time, you guys. There's nothing about our industry for any of us, whether we're lenders or realtors, that is a quick turnaround. So if we're looking for the get rich quick and how are we going to fix this right now, we need to shift that mindset as well. And remember that it's what we do every single day, over and over and over again. And then be the digital mayor. I don't know if you guys have heard this. I definitely did not coin this phrase, but be the digital mayor is used a lot when it comes to what we're doing on social media and how we're positioning ourselves in the community. And I don't know if anybody agrees. I hate getting on social media and doing reels and videos and all the things, just like everybody else probably. I mean, there might be a few of us that don't, but there's a lot of us that do. You guys, it's so funny how when we do a video and it's something about a local coffee shop or a restaurant, or we're highlighting one of the nonprofits, everybody watches, right? What is that doing to potential sellers in our market? Well, number one, it's showing them that we have influence. Number two, it's showing them that we are an expert in our market and we actually live here and we love working in our communities. So we're also subliminally selling to them as to why they want us to sell their home to potential buyers moving in, right? So Be the Digital Mayor, I think, is a really, really great one. If you all follow me on social media, you will see that we are upping all of our community involvement, doing videos and things. So feel free to laugh or join in on the fun. And then mega open houses. I know that most people will think mega open houses are really searching for buyers. However, I will tell you, for years, I personally did mega open houses and got a ton of sellers from it. And why do you think? Because sellers see that I'm working hard to sell somebody else's house, and now they want me to do the same for theirs. So mega open houses, great if we get buyers, right? The more the merrier. And you also want to do mega open houses and door knock and market to everybody in that neighborhood where you're hosting a mega open house to show them what you are doing to help sell that current house. And by the way, if you don't have any listings, you can go to one of the strong listing agents in your office and ask them to host a mega open house at their listing. Because while you are still helping market their listing, you personally going and door knocking and meeting all these individuals, if you use your language right, you're also selling them on why you too could be a listing agent. I have junior agents come do that on my listings every single weekend, and I'm more than happy to let them do it. So look for other agents to collaborate with to do that, because it's a huge piece. All right, so now we're going to talk about some listing specifics. Let me check time. All right, we're good. Just making sure.
Can you elaborate on what a mega open house is, please?
Yes. So a mega open house basically is, hang on, there we go. A mega open house is when you basically, and we've got a checklist that we can share with everybody. I'll do that. I didn't add it into this, but you basically market it everywhere, right? So I don't know how many of you guys have the Google My Business page, where you basically put yourself as an agent on Google My Business. If you don't have that, you need to go get one today. Because Google My Business now is, between that and YouTube, they're the two main entities on the internet that feed every other social media and website analytics. So on Google My Business, you actually can put on there all of your events. Well, your events are your mega open houses. So as people are in the area, Google sees an event, and if somebody's driving around looking for a restaurant, you know, all those little pop-ups that come in, well, your open house will pop up if somebody's by it. So it just feeds out, you know, the crazy part of the World Wide Web, right? It feeds into everything. But the Google My Business, when you do an open house, a mega open house, you put it on there as an event. And then we have a checklist that takes you through everything else. So it involves sending out an announcement and an invite to your CRM. You put it on your social media, you door knock, you do flyers to the entire, you know, probably 3 to 4 streets around it. It's a whole checklist of what you do to blast out and create a mega open house. And then you have a system to lead capture everyone's information. And you also go in with your plan, depending on whether it's your open house or another agent's open house. Your language is going to be a little bit different, but you have a plan of how you're going to position yourself to speak to potential sellers and to potential buyers. And by the way, you guys, don't forget that every single person that comes into an open house usually has somewhere to sell. There's going to be a small handful that have already sold, or they're moving in from out of the area, but there's a big handful that come in and go, well, we just started looking. We live, you know, four neighborhoods down. We're thinking about moving over here. Well, there's a potential seller. So the mega open house is a checklist that you go through, and it tells you how to do it, and we can share it with you guys, but it gets really good results. And I'll tell you something else that happens when the market is slow and when we're all sitting around going, oh gosh, what do we do next? There's something about the synergy that a mega open house creates, and it also gets us out of our own way. A lot of my agents will tag team them and do them together, and it makes for a fun afternoon. And then you get to have a bunch of engaging conversations. So in my opinion, it serves a purpose for a lot of reasons. Okay, so I just wanted to touch high level to make everybody start thinking about where you get your listing business without getting into the weeds on it. When it comes to being a listing agent that lasts, I will tell you that my close ratio on listing appointments is about 98%. I will be honest and tell you I lost 2 last week, and I was livid. And the reason I lost 2 last week is because I went up against my #1 competitor, and he's now decided that he's going to take 1% listings because the market has shifted and he wants to keep market share. And so I share that to say, I haven't quite put together my plan to combat that, but it is something that we're all going to have to start thinking strategically about, right? Because as the market shifts, we always have these little ebb and flows where we have to deal with different challenges that come up. But what I do know for myself is that I will not deviate from my plan. I will not discount who I am, and I will not deviate from my plan. I will learn how to work around it. And I think that is something that is very critical when we think about being a listing agent and actually running our real estate business from the perspective of a business owner and not just an agent, right? So a business owner has a strategy for every challenge, and we think strategically about it, not emotionally about it. So my rule of thumb is whenever something happens like last week, and I didn't get these 2 listings when I desperately wanted them, right? My inventory is so low as well. But I gave myself about 3 minutes to get irritated by it. And then I went back to the book and was like, okay, I'm going to write down, what am I doing? What will I negotiate? What won't I negotiate? How am I going to win? And I didn't allow myself to get down in the emotions. And I share that just to say, it's a piece of the mindset that I think is going to become more important than ever for every single one of us. Because let's face it, we're headed into choppy waters, right? It's going to continue to happen. So for me, having the plan and doing the same thing every single time according to the plan and the process is critical. So I kept it high level on here because I wanted to make sure and leave plenty of time for questions. And like I said, this presentation could be multiple lunch and learns. So make sure and tell your lenders what topic you want to see next so that they can put together another great speaker for you. But when it comes to the process, the second the lead comes in to your office, you should have a 100-point checklist, literally, for exactly what happens every single time without fail, whether you're an individual agent or whether you're a team. So on my team, we have that. My listing manager's name is Jen Ryan. She is amazing. She runs all of our listings in my listing department like a boss, and she has a checklist and does the same thing every single time. So for me, I always think of the second the lead comes in, I'm automatically starting to sell them and simultaneously close them. Well, how do we do that? We do that by wowing them from the second they call, right? So the first thing that happens when they call into my office is whether it's me or Jen, or if somebody else gets the call, they go straight to me and we take them through the questionnaire. And that's your basic things, right? Why are you looking to sell? We're quantifying their sense of urgency. What's the purpose? All the things. And then Jen or I set the expectation with them. Here's what's going to happen. We scheduled the appointment with Haley. She's so excited to meet with you. I'm going to send you an email with a video that's going to give you a heads up on what to expect when she meets with you. So I linked my video in here for you guys to see, because I do think it helps you just get a little bit of insight on how I run things and the level of professionalism that we set for the seller before I get to the appointment. Give me 1 second. I'm going to get over here and show it to you. I really can do this. This can happen. Hang on. All right. So let's see. Okay.
Hi, I'm Haley Garcia with the Garcia Real Estate Group. Thank you for taking a minute to watch this video in order to prepare for our meeting together. I know you have a lot of great agents in this market to choose from, so I'm honored that you're giving me the opportunity to meet with you in person and to walk your property. At our meeting, we will work to identify your goals and timelines. In order to prepare for this meeting, if you can locate a couple of documents, it will really help us to have a more productive conversation. The first is your survey, which is the drawing of your house on your piece of land. The second is your previous appraisal. In this appraisal, appraisal, you will find a square footage sketch, and it will show the exact measurements of your home. During our discussion, we will review your property and identify any needed repairs, as well as cosmetic make-ready items that we may want to address before going on the market. This market is ever changing, so I will bring a current market analysis of your property, as well as share insights on current buyer behavior and neighboring properties that have closed in order for you to define your pricing strategy. Our marketing plan will coincide with this strategy, and we will review all of our specific marketing tools that will maximize our worldwide reach to potential buyers. I look forward to meeting with you in person, and I'm excited to share with you the results that we have had representing sellers for over 23 years now, and the reasons why my team and I have remained on the top list of agents for the Houston Business Journal since 2015. Thank you again for the opportunity, and I look forward to meeting you soon.
Okay, so that is a quick overview of how we set the stage before I go on the appointment. And then Jen is calling to confirm the appointment, and then I go on the appointment. When I attend the listing appointment, I'll tell you that my personal opinion is when you set the stage with pre-listing video and a timeline and you confirm, and then you show up and you have a really amazing presentation, you've already gotten half of it in the bag, right? The rest of it is now going to be up to your pricing strategy. And you noticed in the video, I said you to the seller, right? And why is that? Because I'm leading them to believe that they're actually in control of that part, because I want their buy-in, right? I'm in control of that part. I will set the pricing strategy, but I have to get their buy-in before I get in the door. So that's what I'm doing at the very start of it. So everything I said in that video was very strategically said. And then when I get there, I go really prepared with a full presentation. And I'll tell you guys, my presentation is exactly the same every single time. It does not matter if it's a $300,000 house or a $3 million house. The only thing that ever changes is the way that I mirror the seller, depending on what their personality type is and what I'm saying about the neighborhood, the builder, and the property. That's it. Everything else is exactly the same. So this is a copy of my listing presentation. What happens is this book is actually printed in color, just as you see it here. And I take that with me and I go through the entire presentation in person. And then this also gets emailed to them in a thank you and a follow-up so that they also have a digital copy should they want to share it with somebody that's, you know, out of the area or overseas. So we won't go through all of this because it's quite a bit, but I'll tell you that this book has been refined probably over the last 5 years to be very strategic. It goes through all of my stats. It goes through my team explanation and our results. It shows some of the high level properties that I have sold in the past few years. And these are in the neighborhoods where I sell. These are key addresses and things where people recognize them. So it's a really good visual of some of my proven success. It goes through the workflow selling process. So I basically talk through this entire timeline with the seller. And what I do during this point is highlight all of the areas that I'm facilitating everything on their behalf, continuing to put myself in the position of being the expert and showing them all of the value that we have. We go through make ready items. We go through all the social media and the marketing that we do in detail. Again, I'm going through quickly so that we don't run out of time. I talk about social media. Here's all the vendors, which by the way, when you have a vendor program and you also tell them that they're printed in your listing presentation and you're referring them to every seller, it's a great way to also remind them that you would love their referrals for the business that you're referring. We go through how we give back to the community and the boards that we as a team sit on and take care of so that they know every time they choose us, a portion of what they're sharing in commissions is also remaining in the community. We go through testimonials, and then I have the art of pricing. And this is where I start talking about comps. So you guys, it's this presentation every single time without fail. Then after that, the most critical follow-up, we calendar things. You know, when it comes to these past two that I lost this past couple of weeks, it was a really good reminder for me, right? Because I usually win the listing. And so sometimes I get a little too big for my britches. That's a Texas saying, but that's just what happens, right? Like I go in and I'm like, I got it in the bag. It's totally fine. And then I didn't get these. And all of a sudden I was reminded, oh, wait a minute. You too better get back to the basics and be ready to pivot with whatever these sellers are going to be giving as hurdles. So it's where I think when we come together like we did today and we start collaborating, and hopefully you guys that are all in rooms together, like do a little download and write down, here's the top 3 things that I'm going to go back and do from what we heard Haley talk about today. You can't go and do everything, right? But if you get 1 to 3 things out of what we highlighted and you go do it, you're going to generate some leads. You're going to shift your mindset and start thinking about, okay, here's where I can start positioning myself as a listing agent more. Whether it's, just getting your mindset right and having a practice every day, or whether it's tweaking your listing process and your checklist and how you're following up every time you do get an opportunity, right? So I want to kick it over to Q&A. I've got several minutes available for Q&A. Before I do that, Jonas, before you take over, I just want to tell you guys a couple of things. Number 1, get with the summit lender that invited you today, and I will send out the pre-listing video and my listing presentation for you guys to all have and to copy and use however you would like. So get with your lender and we will share that. I will be more than happy to send over any other, if you guys want the mega open house checklist or whatever, we could do that, but these are already in the queue to go to your lenders. The second thing is get with the lender that invited you and set an appointment before you walk out the door today to sit down with them and to pull your CRM, or to even pull list, right? You can go buy list of addresses if you don't have a big CRM, and do the HomeBot property evaluations. The more you do, it's a numbers game, you guys, the more potential leads we will get. So do that, because we have to do that in this market. We don't have a reason not to. If we're going to thrive, we've got to do these basic things and then really use our lenders as collaborative partners. And I just want to say thank you again to the Summit guys, because you guys are, you really are the only ones in the industry that I've come across that truly care about the business of the agents and really help us grow. So thank you for that. And Jonas, let's jump to questions. What questions do you guys have? What would you like me to explain more?
So guys, if you'll do me a favor on the chat screen, if you can put your questions in there, it will be very easy for me to moderate and ask Haley. Haley, do you mind if I ask you a question first?
Absolutely.
In this ever-changing market, I know in the lending world, we're seeing a lot more shopping. In the real estate world, it's getting competitive. Haley, how did you mentally take losing those 2 listings, and how did you bounce right back? Because I'm hearing from more and more real estate agents, Jonas, I just lost the lending. I may not be able to pay X, Y, and Z. Talk to us about your mental in the last week and how you're back to smiling and going at it.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's not easy, guys, right? We all have, just tons of bills and teams to take care of and families to care for. And for me personally, I have to purposely manage my own thoughts, because I know that my thoughts are what create my feelings. So I don't allow myself to think, oh my gosh, I lost that listing. I choose to think, what did I just learn about that that's going to make me better so I win next time? And that is just my own personal practice. I literally do not give myself permission to get down in it. I do silly things, right? Like I talk to myself in the car, I talk to myself in the shower, and I just remind myself, like, whatever thought I choose to have is exactly the result and the feeling that I'm going to get. So that's what I do, Jonas. I don't know. I'm just hard and fast about it. There's no whining. Get up and fix it.
Perfect. Thank you. So Haley, from John King, how typically, oops, let me go back up here. I apologize.
I see it.
But do you see it?
Yes. How long do I typically spend with a seller for the listing appointment? Exactly 60 minutes. No less, no more. Exactly 60 minutes. And my team gives me a really hard time because they're like, oh, you got out in 55 minutes. And I'm like, well, they had to go to a meeting. But it's exactly 60 minutes. Do you have a marketing company that put together your listing package? What do you look for when hiring them? That's a great question. There's a lot of marketing companies that can do it. My team and I actually built that listing presentation on our own through Flipping Book. So flippingbook.com is a great program that creates those online books. All of those photos that you saw in that book are our photos of our properties. And then the language that's in it, I created. So we did that one ourselves, but you can absolutely use a marketing company. I would just tell you guys, be wise about outsourcing right now when we actually have time to do things, right? There's a lot of online programs that are 40, 50 bucks that gives us the opportunity to do it. And the materials look great. And then what we did was download the flipping book to a local printing company and we had them printed. If you have many listings that buyers aren't comfortable with the market, how are you making them comfortable in getting in the game? Let's see. I'm not sure I understand that question. If I have listings that buyers aren't comfortable with, meaning is the question. So I'm going to go to the next question. If I think that's Chase, if you can clarify, are you asking about how are we getting buyers in the market? Just clarify for me. John, when in a competitive listing presentation situation, some agents want to be first to present, some want to be last. What is my opinion and strategy? I actually don't care. I think if I had a preference, it would be to be last, but we don't always control that. And also you can't count on the seller to tell you the truth. So I go at it from the mindset of I'm going to go in and wow them and do what I do. And then I'm going to follow up really intensely. And I am going to believe that I will win regardless of whether I'm first or last. How do you start building relationships with builders to people that can make a decision? Got it. That is a great question. So the question is, how do you get to the top of the chain in building companies to the guys who make decisions? So what I did a long time ago is I started building relationships with all the sales guys that are boots on the ground. And then I started figuring out which ones are the highest sales in the neighborhoods, because those are the ones that get the ears to the VPs. And then I offered to come to their big sales meetings and teach all the sales guys 1 or 2 strategies. So I would teach them things like how to structure their day and call their leads back, or I would teach them how to close buyers, right? And then as I did that, all the VPs started wanting to meet me and I started building relationships that way. I also would pull land and try to get in front of the owners of the builders so that I could show potential land listings to see if they had any interest to build inventory. And that also built a lot of those relationships as well. Great question. Let's see. What is your daily routine? Meals, food, family, exercise, and time off. My daily routine is pretty militant. I do 5 a.m. Workouts. I get up at 4:15 every day. I meditate before I go to the gym. I do 5 a.m. workouts. I do have all of my meals prepped and made for me. I was using a company and just recently moved to my retired mom, who's now making all of my meal prep. So I'm helping her out a little bit too, which is super fun. So I exercise 5 days a week. I do yoga every Sunday. That is my church. And I do take time off. Although I will tell you right now, I have limited my days off in my next 90-day schedule because I'm so intent on getting back to the business and lead generating. So my time off has pivoted just a little bit intentionally, just for a short amount of time to get the pipeline back where it needs to be. In your market, are you facing challenges with an increase of days on market? Absolutely. If so, what tactics are you using to bring buyers to your listings? So this is one of the things, you guys, where I think we all have to start pushing out on social media what we're seeing, because what we need to do is normalize what's happening instead of it feeling like it's just us or just our neighborhoods. The more we can communicate that nationwide days on market are growing. And by the way, we're going back to normal. This isn't the end of the world. We're simply normalizing. And for people that think the past 2 years have been normal, well, you just haven't been around long enough, because the past 2 years were not normal, right? So in my opinion, the more we as a collective industry push out information and data on what we're seeing in each of our markets around the country, the more buyers and sellers are going to go, oh, okay, it's not just us. So individually, what I've been doing, I do Tuesday updates and phone calls to every one of my sellers and buyers, right? And when I'm calling them, I'm giving them data about everything around the country. So I'm not just talking about the Woodlands. I'm pulling things about Houston and Austin and Dallas and other things around the country. You know, like I'll use this, for example, and I'll go, guys, I was just on a huge lunch and learn via Zoom across the country, and every market that was represented, we all were having the same challenges. So things like that really shows our individual clients how in touch we are with reality. And then we want to tie that reality back to what's happening in our current, situation. As a brand new agent right now, what is my absolute priority number one action besides CRM? I want my first sale before the end of the year. Oh, that's a great question. Your number one priority right now as a brand new agent is to partner with a very experienced agent that can be your mentor, and to soak up and learn every single thing you can in your local market and have them teach you what to do. There's my answer. How many listings? I don't understand. Chase, I don't understand the question. Try again. If you have a seller that wants an unrealistic price and you cannot talk them down, do you walk or take it and get them to lower it over time? That's a great question. So in the past 2 years, I walk because I could. Right now, I'm taking it. However, I'm taking it with the written language in my listing contract that, Mr. Seller, I will agree to list at your price, even though I disagree with the current market in this price, for 21 days. If in 21 days you agree that we do not sell, you're going to acknowledge that I played along and we tried to get the highest price that you thought we could, but then we are going to reduce it to X price, which at this point is what I feel the property is worth in 21 days. Do we have that agreement? And that's what I'm doing. How do some of your amazing promotional items how do you do some of the promotional items when you're on a budget? So that's a great question, you guys, because guess what? We're all on a budget. All of us. I have cut my marketing budget in half in the past 90 days. So what we're doing is every possible thing we can that is free. So email newsletters, a lot of your brokerages should have templates and things. I know the HomeBot program has things that can be sent out. Like, look for every single thing that you can use that still looks really great and it's free. Also, the power of social media. Social media, as much as some of us in my generation despise it, it is a necessary evil, and it does leverage all of our time and our efforts. So just think about everything you can do that doesn't cost money. Can you give a snapshot of having price reduction conversations with sellers? Sure. So a price reduction conversation is, hey, Kirk, listen, we're keeping up with the market. I sent you the market update on Monday. I want to go through it with you and show you that every other listing in the neighborhood has also not pended in the past 30 days. As you can see, your price is about 10% higher than these other listings. I just want to point out a couple of things. House at 123 Main Street, that one actually has an updated kitchen, which is superior to ours, unfortunately. The other one over on, 135 Main Street, that one is inferior because it doesn't have a pool and yours does. But as you can see, the percentage, we're still off. So because these guys haven't moved, in addition to you, we've got to bring your price down, unless you're okay with sitting on the market for another 30 days. What do you think? So there's many different ways you can do it, but that's a conversation that I just had a couple of weeks ago. And he did drop the price by 50,000, which was decent, right? I think the number one thing that I'm sharing with sellers right now, when they go, well, my neighbor sold for X. Yes, they did. And that was 60 days ago. The market is changing every 30 days right now. So please don't get hung up on a comp that just happened, because it's already outdated 30 days later. As much as I hate it, I know you hate it. We all don't like it, but it is what's happening. So if we want to sell the property, we got to stay in touch with real time. Can you please tell us your year-to-date units and volume and how many agents that includes, and what is your average list price? Yes, absolutely. So we will, I don't like using this language, but we will probably not hit 130 million this year. Year to date, we are at 70 million, which would mean that the last quarter is going to have to be real strong. I'm not sure it's going to be as strong as it was last year. I will tell you that year to date last year, as of today, I was at 68 million. So that tells you how much we closed last quarter of last year. This year, the goal that I have refined is for us to hit 100 million. So we've got to do 100 between, we've got to do the difference between 70 and 100 by December. Units, we are down on units because our price range has gone up. So we are at 78 units. Year to date, last year, we did way more units, but we also did a ton of buy sides. This year, it is very, very different. Currently right now, I am the only listing agent on the team, and I have 2 buyer's agents that also list in their own markets because we're a little bit spread out in the city of Houston. It's quite large. And then I have 2, I did have 3 internal team. I now have 2 because I did let 1 go in order to make cuts and stay, you know, secure in our P&L as the market does start to shift. Let's see. Do you recommend doing open houses for other agents if you are a new agent? Absolutely. Doing open houses is the best way to get yourself comfortable with having conversations, talking about the current market, handling objections, right? Think of open houses as your real life practice. And guess what? It doesn't matter if you mess up. So you 100% should be doing open houses. You know, one of my team members asked me the other day, what did I do back in 08, 09? And I had to think for a minute. And then I remembered, oh yeah, I door knocked and I did 4 open houses every single weekend. That's what I did in 08, 09. And then every week I spent my weeks calling all those people I met at the open houses and building relationships with the business people in my communities. So those are the things that we've got to be doing. Do I completely unplug on vacation? 100%. My cell phone gets forwarded to a team member when I go on vacation. So I can only get text messages, and I intentionally unplug from those and leave it in my hotel room or whatever it is I'm doing. Some of you might've heard me say I this year in the summer, I went and did a 9-day meditation immersion with Deepak Chopra in Hawaii. And I was legit off my phone for 9 days, which yes, it gave me a little bit of anxiety, but apparently the meditation made it all go away because nothing burned down. Let's see. Where do you get your supporting stats? What stats? Like from other markets? Give me a little bit more on that one.
All of them, anything having to do with like using a 1% agent versus using you, all that kind of stuff. How much at FSBOs only get this much for their house. This is why you should use a professional agent. Any of those kind of things.
Yeah, that's a great question. So NAR, National Association of Realtors, has a ton of those stats when it comes to FSBOs and all that type of stuff. You can pull on their website a ton of information. And then locally for me personally, I always ask my broker of my office to pull my MLS stats so that I know it comes directly from them and I don't mess it up. So your broker of your office should be able to do that. And if not, you should be able to definitely call your own MLS board and ask them to help you figure out how to pull your own stats if you don't, if you're in a small brokerage or something where you can't get that information. Where do you get stats on what states are moving? So, the piece about companies that are moving, you literally can get on Google and just Google companies within the United States moving across country, right? You can look up oil and gas company making corporate moves, corporate closures, corporate openings, anything like that. And you're going to start getting information. I'm sure there's also a ton of different newspapers and magazines that keep up with it, but I don't read those, so I wouldn't know. But Google is our answer for everything, you guys. Just keep Googling. Can you give us ideas on how to start a mastermind group? How did you get a hospital CEO to show up? That's a great question. Yes, I was very strategic about it. And I'll tell you, years ago, Rita Casey taught me this. So I started the mastermind group, it was so long ago. But what I did was I started thinking about who knew the CEOs and who I could get in front of to start working my way in to get to meet them. I actually have 3 CEOs of 3 different hospitals that are clients of mine. And I started with the nonprofits because all the hospitals are part of the nonprofits, right? So I started at the nonprofits and then I would attend all the events. And then every time the hospitals would host an event, I would attend. And then I started a women in business group with 4 other women locally. And we started a small women in business group where we would highlight nonprofits at our women in business group. And then we would also use it as a meet and greet. And I've had that group now for 10 years. And that's how I met the CEO. She happens to be a female. And so she met me at nonprofits. She met me at hospital events. And then she also got invited to our women in business group. And, I say women in business. You can also do that with anybody in business, right? That's what a mastermind is. It's to get together with other professionals and start to, you know, mastermind together and meet and greet and talk about your community and how the business each of you do affects your community and yourself. All right, guys, it's 3:06 my time. That means it's 1:06 your time, I believe, wherever you guys are. Thank you so very much for having me. I am so inspired and motivated by everybody getting on because it helps fuel me as well. So thank you for showing up, because I'm going to go next week and not lose a listing. I hope that you all do the same thing and think about where you can generate some listings, build some really great relationships, get back to the basics. We're all in this together, so keep our mindset positive and lean on our amazing lenders to collaborate with us. I'll follow up with those tools that I said I was going to share with everybody. So get with your lender that invited you and get those out. And also do not forget to set your appointment to pull all of your data from HomeBot with your lender and start sending it out to everybody you can think of. Okay. Thank you.
Haley, you have been absolutely amazing every time I've seen you, and today you killed it, girl. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jonas. I appreciate you guys. Have an amazing rest of your week.
So everyone that's on here nationally, please remember Summit Funding will be having a national lunch and learn once a month. We will be announcing our next speaker, and we are just 100% honored to have you today. Guys, I'm going to hit the end. Thank you very much, Haley. We will see you soon. Thank you.